Greetings everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Missing Time. We've just missed out on Emiri's departure from the occult club. I can't say this is unexpected, but I guess I didn't expect Emiri to drop the bomb so coldly, especially after the conversation we had. Letting out a huge sigh, I give the rest of the girls an apologetic look before rushing out after Emiri. Emiri, wait up!
Oh?
Are you quitting too? What? No, I see. If you wish to speak, speak. However, even you would not be able to convince me to go back. So you're saying that we have some potential? So what you're saying is that there's a chance. Chancy? Well, she really is no nonsense, isn't she? Shaking my head, I fall into steps beside Emiri. No. I'm not trying to get you to come back. Oh? Then what is it? With those emotionless eyes. Honestly, I don't know. I just run after you out of instinct. You are an interesting one, aren't you? Do yourself a favour. Huh? You should leave before you too would get hurt. With a nod, Emily picks up her pace, leaving me behind with a heavy knot in my stomach. Slowly becoming more detached as time comes along. This is this is charted territory, but I feel like there could be something else to this. We can come here on Chihara's route, but Emiri's route? There might be something else to this. Despite everything, my family's slowly settling into this place. We only have a few things left to get done in the house. One of which was my grandpa's old room, which I've been tasked with cleaning out. Standing here in the midst of old books, trinkets and memories, I feel a bit choked up. It has been easy to ignore Grandpa's lack of presence with the whirlwind of moving and getting reacquainted with the town, but now it doesn't help that Emiri's warning is still ringing in my ears. Not for the first time, even before she dropped her announcement. I considered quitting the club. But what about Grandpa? What if he really was one of the pre-murder mystery cases? The thought alone makes my stomach churn. Yeah, and speaking about this conversation for me personally is a little bit uncomforting, but I'm able to bear it. Because I lost my grandfather in March of this year. The thought alone makes my stomach churn, but I can't keep it at bay anymore. Not when I'm standing here, in the middle of his memories. It certainly gives me the motivation to clear out the room quicker. Maybe if I'm lucky I'd come across something helpful. The shelves are mostly just books, dusty pages that haven't seen the light of day for too long. There are some displayed collectibles, a box full of curious looking rocks, and an old ceremonial tea set. After 2 whole hours of packing and cleaning, I haven't found a single damning thing yet. There's only his desk now. Ooh, that could be where the diary is. I contemplate taking a break, but ultimately decide against it. I'm only nervous about what might be in the drawers, and delaying going through them would only bring me more anxiety. Time to rip out that band-aid. The first drawer, there's also a bandage by the way, the first drawer seems to be just stationery. It has been so long since anyone was here, I doubt any of the pens would work anymore. Shaking my head, I gather them up in a bag, intending to go through them later and see if any of it is still usable. The next drawer is filled with mails and correspondences, bills, receipts, and all that stuff. They go into a separate bag for my mom to look through. I find a bunch of old art supplies in the drawer after it, with some old bits of screws and electrical cords. The bottom drawer has nothing but a dusty shoe book. Curious, I flip the lid open. The first thing in there that makes me tear up is a picture of little me, Grandpa, and little Chiharu, all beaming at the camera. Ah, it would have been nice to see like a little CG of it. Not a full screen one, but like a little square CG of it. Carefully I pocket it, intending to show Chiharu later. Under the picture, there are a few yellow envelopes, a faded, carefully folded handkerchief, handkerchief, and a cracked leather-bound journal. I remember Grandpa used to pore over this very same journal way back then. I remember asking him about it, and I remember him winking at me with a twinkle of mischievousness. "I'll let you in on it when you're older," he said. "It's a secret stash for alcohol." Running my fingers across the cover, I think about it for a moment before deciding to sit down at Grandpa's bed. Carefully, I undo the strings around it and peel open the cover. Huh? This goes way back. I decide to flip through it. It seems like Grandpa only documented important events of his life here. There are a few torn and missing pages though. Well, it doesn't seem like there's a lot, so might as well start from the beginning. The engagement with Tomomi fell through. As expected, her family isn't happy with my lineage nor Tomomi's announcement. I am not allowed back to the shrine due to the circumstance and unable to contact Tomomi. Tomomi must be Emiri's great or her grandma. Why can't I get grandmother out of my mouth, for goodness sakes? A friend suggested to keep a journal, in case the situation takes a worse turn. I don't have much hope of marrying Tomomi, but I do love her deeply. If anything, I hope she will be allowed to continue her ascension, and that she will find peace, even if it is not with me. So this is exactly the same, aside from the mentions of Emiri here, but I feel like this is an important piece of story for later on. So before Grandpa was supposed to marry someone else. Someone from the shrine. Was this a reason that led to Grandpa quitting his job there? Feeling conflicted, I flipped to the next entry. Tomomi is married today. The Onishi take extra precautions and has someone keeping an eye out for me. They will do everything possible to stop me from going to the wedding. Tomomi and I have been exchanging correspondence, few and far between, but it is the only comfort we have. The initial plan was for her to take over the household quickly so she could have the absolute say in this matter. However, she was one step behind her mother. Noriko Onishi had the arrangements laid down for years. A few months ahead of schedule is nothing for her. Tomomi told me to lay low. She told me that if I ever loved her, I would keep myself safe. She promised me she would make it work. Somehow, I doubt her words. The journal almost slips through my lax fingers. Grandpa was supposed to marry an Onishi? That must mean he and the twins' grandmother had a romance before. This is getting out of hand so quickly. That means Flare could have been related to the Onishi twins, somehow. As I quickly go through the pages, a photo slides out. It's black and white, frayed around the edges and grainy, but I recognise it. Its restored version is hung in this house's living room. Grandpa and Grandma's wedding picture. Ah. Carefully, I open the page where the picture came from. I married Chikako today. I'm grateful for her love and understanding. Not only she sympathises with my story, she accepts me and my past. She loves me for who I am, and I am ready to begin a new life with Chikako. I hope Tomomi is doing well. I hope Tomomi will find the same peace I have with Chikako. So Grandma knew about Grandpa and Tomomi Onishi. At least Grandpa was truthful to Grandma. Shaking my head, I leaf through the pages again. The next few entries are short, talking about Mum's birth and her growing up, the passing of my grandma. Grandpa seemed content with his life and loved his family very much, which I already know. But it is nice to have a confirmation about the information I just uncovered. I wonder if Mum knows all about this. Masayo Onishi visited me today. Both my wife and daughter were out. She brought news of Tomomi's passing and asked me to attend a ceremony as per Tomomi's last request. Who I am told to say no to that. Who am I to say no to that? Placed between the same pages of that entry was an envelope. After a moment of hesitation, I peel it open. It's clear how many times this letter was read, with its folded lines barely holding together. The handwriting, clear and elegant, eerily reminds me of Emiri's own. There is no name on the envelope, nor any indication to whom it was addressed, but I have a good guess. Beloved. With the heaviest of hearts, I am writing you this letter from my deathbed. Do not despair, as we both know this day would come. Day. I must apologize for my silence over the years. I am sorry that we had not been able to find solace within each other after my marriage, even if just as friends. It was my own selfishness and fear that I would not be able to fulfill my duties if I were to see you again. Your duties of the experiment. I am sorry that I denied you of closure and stopped you from reaching out. As thus, I have dedicated my life to erase the thing which binds every ownership to her duty, which somehow still has not been fully prophesized. I want it destroyed forever, by any means necessary, so that none of my daughters will have to suffer the same fate as I have. Unfortunately, time is not on my side, as it has not been for many before. Masio will continue my work on her terms. Please pray for her success. My deepest regret is to never have the chance at building a family with you, but I too am glad you have found happiness with Chaikako. She has always been a good friend, and she is more equipped than I have ever been to give you a normal life. May peace find you. Yours, Momi. Gosh, yeah. The last few lines have me choked up. Gently I fold the letter back into its envelope. Tomomi seems just as no-nonsense as Emiri, but she seems to have a much better grasp on relationship and emotions than Emiri does. I wonder if Emiri knows this about her grandmother. Quietly I tuck the letter into my pocket and I put the journal back where I found it. Not gonna lie, that put a tear in me too. Chapter 3. Wither. To be perfectly honest, I thought I was hallucinating when I received a sudden text from Emiri. There is something I would like to discuss with you. Please follow up with an available date and time. That sounded like a doctor's appointment who was about to tell me that I can't. Damn it, no, that's not funny, Flare. But it's just the circumstances itself. It's like it's something so serious, but this could be just something that is very trivial. It was barely the beginning of the week. I don't think I could deal with this yet, but Emily was still very much an enigma, and I didn't want to risk her wrath. Counting my blessings, I replied, "How about we go to this cafe for some afternoon tea on Friday? They serve really good desserts." Sounds good. Emiri casual clothing. Knowing how precise Emiri is, I arrive early at the cafe. Of course, she doesn't take long to show up, but upon spotting me, she just stands there, staring. It isn't until I see how pale her knuckles are, wrapping around the strap on her purse, then I realize Emiri is nervous. "Hello there, Emiri." She glances away. A pink dust settles on her cheek. Ah. Hi. Ah. Standing up, I pull out a chair for her. As elegant as ever, Emiri slips into the seat. "Here, order anything you like. My treat." She accepts the menu gracefully and promptly buries her nose into it. At first I thought she was trying to avoid eye contact, but then I realised Emiri is genuinely invested in the items offered here. Oh. They have a lot of dishes here. Do they? The menu, while fancier than your typical cafe, isn't it impressive in my opinion that I remember Emiri probably doesn't go out that often? Plus Chiharu recommended this place, so the food must be good. Whatever Emiri needs to tell me, I think it's best to get her into a decent mood first. With food. There are lots of tea types here. Some I am unfamiliar with. What do you usually drink, Emiri? Green tea. Occasionally I drink Urloin. I tasted Earl Grey before, but I don't like it. Have you tried Darjeeling? What's it like? It's an Indian tea. It has a hint of almond and wildflowers. You seem very knowledgeable. Not really. Chihara has a whole collection of tea to go with her sweets. I just happen to be, well, at least used to be a guinea pig. When she was learning how to cook and all that. You two are quite close. Feeling a bit awkward, I clear my throat and try to steer the conversation away. So, Darjeeling then? Yes, please. Ah, that is a smile we rarely see. How about some accompanying snacks? Again, Emiri stares at the menu. The look in her eyes could almost be described as mournful. There are a lot of choices. How about we order a taste selection? A little bit of everything. MC, that is the greatest idea ever. If we don't know what to pick, how about a little bit of everything? That sounds good. She can be really bashful about what she wants, huh? Flagging down a waiter, I place the order. Silence fills the space between us. Neither quite know what to say. The tea's arrival is a thankful distraction. Here, let me pour you, son. Thank you. She delicately lifts the cup and saucer. This is good, isn't it? Yes, but we should let it steep a little bit more. I blink at the pale colour of the liquid. Now it's my turn to blush. Yeah, that's probably smart. Awkward silence overcomes us once more. Then, Emiri sighs. I am sorry. This is my first outing in this kind of scenario. I have done some research, but now that the situation is upon me, I don't know how to act adequately. Emiri, are you saying that this is a date? This kind of scenario, although unlike Shizao's date, I feel like this date is going to end with some more, or with some comfort anyways. It's like, unlike with Shizao, I don't feel any hostility here. Or any kind of surprises. It's just very civil, calm. Nice. This kind of scenario. Oh god, did I read the situation wrong? Is this meant to be a date? Emiri, but the things you want to discuss. Oh, I believe the correct term should be to hang out. But I got caught up with my habit. I composed and set the text before I double checked it. Sorry. My cheeks immediately burn hot, but at the same time guilt and sadness overcomes me. Emiri is thrown way out of her comfort zone compared to me. Yeah. Her own comfort zone. This is definitely outside of her cyclical nature. I do think Emiri is like that though. A very cyclical person when it comes to responsibilities and the stuff that she does on a day-to-day basis. Like, she doesn't need like an Excel spreadsheet to be able to record her daily duties. She has that fixated in her head because she's done it for so long. Instead of trying to make myself look good, I should try to make her feel at ease instead. That's alright, Emiri. So I didn't catch on earlier. It's okay to feel a bit nervous. It's irrational. There shouldn't be anything to be nervous about. Her slightly peeved expression draws a chuckle out of me. It's natural. I mean, in a sense, this is uncharted territory for you, right? Emiri has to think about it for a moment. I guess it is. And that's completely fine. At least we're walking into it together, right? Ah, yes. I would have thought my efforts have failed, if not for the tiny smile on her lips. Her cute shyness brings forth a chuckle from me. What is it? Nothing. It's just nice seeing you behaving your age, that's all. Emiri ducks her head, her blush intensifies. Ah, I am ashamed to show this side of me. Emiri. Oh, the food selection. Oh my gosh, that's making me hungry, but like it's 8:15 at night. Well, it's still daylight, so you could consider it still in the daytime. The food arrives, cutting our conversation short. The afternoon tea stands display an array of vibrant items. One is the savouries, with coronation chicken and cucumber sandwiches, brioche rolls with lobster and prawns, egg and watercress, smoked salmon and cream cheese on fine oat cakes. Look, this is just making me hungry now. And look at what's on the top as well. I bet Emiri's going to go into one of those sort of stuff. Creamy puffs with chocolate syrup on top. The other is for the mini desserts, showing Victoria sponge mini cakes, salted caramel profiteroles, opera cakes, and buttery scones with jam. Fresh and beautiful, they almost have a shine under the afternoon sun. Emiri is especially impressed. I've never seen some of these before. Everything looks good. Yes. Shall we? Even though we start with the savouries, I can see Emiri side glancing the desserts. She really does have a sweet tooth. But upon biting into the lobster roll, her eyes go round as she lets out a pleased humming noise. It's really good. It is. The flavour is very mild. The lobster is vibrant and fresh, not overly seasoned. The soft, oceany taste is elevated by the butter. Wow, you know a lot about food. I have a sensitive palate. Is that why you don't go out to eat often? Yes, that and my schedules. The food I eat is prepared by the family's cook. Outside food is often considered impure, thus unfit for consumption. Impure. Hellish. Oh, would you be in trouble for coming out here to eat? No, not to my knowledge. There is no rule against that, but it isn't an encouraged behaviour. Is that why Shizeo is a bit alienated from the family? Emiri falls quiet for a moment. Yes and no. I don't entirely agree with how Shizeo was raised, but her actions are also questionable. Yeah, both are indeed questionable. If we learnt stuff from Shizeo's route, which you might have already been through, then we would know about the atrocities that she was committed to suffer for both the aid of Emiri and the help of Emiri, so that she can use her magic while not draining her own life force. Pausing, Emiri sighs. Shizeo is good at playing foxy. She is good at getting boys to fall for her, as she did during middle school. Good at charming them to do all kinds of stuff for her. It brings a bad image. With time, the town disassociate her with the owner she named due to her actions. That sounds complicated. And tragic. No wonder Shizeo acts out. It is. Perhaps it's not my place to say, but your relationship with Shiharu is worth of envy. I was thinking that as well before you brought that up. When you said the word envy, I thought, is Emiri jealous? Are you jealous? Aw, she is a little bit. Even if it is just a little bit. This out of Emiri's route or Shizeo's route so far, this is definitely my favourite so far out of the two. Pink dusts Emiri's cheeks again, but she nods. I am envious of your childhood relationship and your friendship. I don't doubt Shizeo does as well. Now that's a surprise. How come? It is pure. You care for each other simply because you do. It isn't something one would see every day. Not in this town at least. I feel a slip of darkness has entered our conversations. My spine straightens automatically. A struck nerve. Chiharu and I just happened to spend a lot of time together when we were kids. Our parents were busy, and Grandpa took care of both of us. We basically grew up together. We thrived off of each other's attention, and grew to care for one another, almost like a family, if you would. I see. Emiri does seem to open up more when the subject of other people is involved. Yeah, that's definitely something that I've been observant of as well, but didn't decide to say, is that Emiri prefers it if people talk about other people than Emiri or Shizeo or anybody else in the Onishi clan. It seems like she is more invested with what other people have to say about others than what other people have to say for the Onishi or for what the Onishi says about each other. Still, I don't know if it would be wise to mention the club or Ember. The conversation has been going well so far. Ruin it would be a shame, and yet what Emiri told me that day still rings uncomfortably in my ears. Talk about the letter. Let's not mention about the club at all. Deciding that it's time to direct the topic from anything school related, I prompt a smile at Emiri. So I have been doing some research about my grandpa. Oh, have you found out anything else about him? Yes, it seems like he knew your grandmother very well. Did he? He worked for her around that time, didn't he? Not exactly. He worked at the shrine before your grandmother took over the household. Oh, a love relationship for the great-grandmother. So he was working for my great-grandmother then. Was he a friend of grandmother? A little more than that.
Oh?
Oh, that's a surprise to Emiri too. I can tell I'm getting her curiosity piqued. I count that as a win in my book. Usually it's hard to raise any kind of reaction out of Emiri. I mean, how can you? They were in love. You are messing with me, right? Not at all. Here. I slide her grandmother's letter to my grandpa towards Emiri, giving me a bewildered look, or as bewildered as Emiri could be. She tentatively picks it up with dainty hands. I keep my silence as Emiri reads. I'm not going to lie, now that I've given Emiri the letter, I feel a bit nervous. How would she react to this bit of information? Will it set back whatever we have managed to build up? Or would it bring us closer? I see. I hope it is closer. My grandmother. Oh, she worked for the great-grandmother, but wanted to marry the grandmother. She was forbidden to marry your grandfather, correct? Yes. She loved him, and yet she had to put her duty on top. How unfortunate. Uh-oh, maybe giving her the letter wasn't such a brilliant idea after all. I didn't expect it to sink Emiri's mood so terribly. But Emiri, look. Your grandmother also said that she sacrificed her happiness so her futures wouldn't have to suffer as she did. Her story was sad, yes. But that's why she didn't want her descendants, you in that extent, to have to bend yourselves over backwards for your duties.
Oh?
What are you saying? Feeling embodied, I reach out to squeeze Emiri's fingers. I'm saying that she wants you to be happy. Thank you, Flare. Because Emiri is now the head of the clan, therefore, she could be the one to forge the brighter future, where it's not so constricted and constrained, strict. Feeling flustered at her smile, I slowly let go of Emiri's hand and straighten up. Of course, any time. I took a look at the storage room as you asked. Suddenly having no appetite, I put down my food. Gosh, what did you find? Potent traces of dark energy. It has a great amount of resentment. Resentment, you say? Almost as if the entity was resentful of doing what they did. What? But who could possibly hate Chiharu? Not who, but who was coerced into killing Chiharu. It doesn't have to be Chiharu specifically they have to hate. Just the thing that's right in front of him, like a bull, charging towards that red cross. This is disturbing. That topic certainly leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I try to wash it down with some tea, but find myself unable to eat anymore. Emiri, however, has begun on the dessert section. Funny how Emiri doesn't talk a lot, but when she does, she only talks about others. Yep. If she herself is involved, there's always something regarding her duties. Emiri is my age, but she acts so mature. In a way, it is impressive, but I suspect that has been how everyone looks at Emiri her entire life. For the most part, it saddens me. So, Emiri, do you do anything for fun? Fun? She stops herself, seeming to be deep in thoughts. I do not have much free time. Not even when you were a kid? I think she's gonna say that she was training to become a priestess when she was a kid. I spent most of my childhood training. That isn't fair for my guess. Far from my guess. But at the same time, that's really not how one should grow up. How about now? I am the shrine's chief priestess. There are many duties to perform. There is hardly enough time to rest, especially since I joined a club. Emiri, why did you join the club in the first place if you already didn't have enough time on your hand? Someone needs to keep an eye on Shizeo. Something about the way she says it feels wrong. It doesn't sound like a keeping an eye out for someone because you care kind of way. It sounds like Emiri has been expecting Shizeo to get into trouble. The two of you don't get along well, huh? Emiri sighs at my comment, her shoulders sagging. She and I are obviously different. Shizeo has always been so sure of herself. She knows what she is and what she wants. She has her own place in the world. I envy her freedom, but at the same time it can be problematic, thus I worry. No, let's not speak about Shizeo's thoughts. Let's do the nice gentleman thing and comfort Emiri in her time of need. It is tough being the responsible one. I suppose so. Emiri hunches down further. She has been holding on to her posture for so long, until this subject is brought up. Now she just looks tired. Emiri does care about Shizeo. I realise. She just doesn't know how to show it correctly, and that pushes her away from Shizeo. From what I've seen, while Shizeo doesn't agree with everything Emiri has to say, she obviously respects Emiri to some degree. Maybe Emiri doesn't know that herself. You're trying your best with what you know. You do care about her, don't you? Of course. She is my sister. There is so much certainty in her voice when she speaks. Then Emiri's eyes widen as she didn't expect to say those words herself. The last of her controlled emotionless mask breaks away, leaving behind a shaken, vulnerable girl. Outside of the shrine of my duties, I don't feel like I have anything else. That my existence, if not defined by that, means nothing. I only have Shizeo to care for, and sometimes it's just so hard. Emiri. I don't know what to say. She clasps her hands together, her fingers shaking with the torrent of emotions that she tries and fails to wrestle alone. Always vigilant, always silent, always alone. Even if she doesn't show that she's not alone, she truly does feel alone, deep down. I know Shizeo has her opinions about me. I know she blames me for a lot of things, and I know there isn't anything I can do to change that. I can't shirk my duties and focus solely on her. I don't think she would care. Of course you would, Emiri. You said it yourself, right? Shizeo is your sister. Maybe your way of showing affection hasn't been the best, but at least you try. Shizeo's perspective, you know. I'm sure she'd understand. Perhaps. She doesn't seem entirely convinced. Sighing, I scoot closer, placing a firm hand on Emiri's shoulder. Emiri, your duties and responsibilities doesn't make the person you are. They might help shape you, but they don't define you. You're not just a shrine maiden, or the head of the Onishi clan.
Oh?
What are you saying? You're Emiri. You're responsible. You're serious. And you might enjoy books a little too much for it to be healthy. Emiri's mouth hangs slightly ajar before a quiet huff of laughter escapes. Grinning, I give her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. You do care, Emiri. You care a lot. Not just for Shizeo, but also for the town and its people. You're doing the best to your knowledge. And it's a shame that nobody lets her know she is appreciated. They put Emiri on some kind of pedestal, but for her name and not for who she is. Some people might enjoy that kind of attention, but it doesn't do Emiri's psyche any favours. It only isolates her more, locking Emiri in an invisible cage. You're not alone, Emiri. That's so touching. That's so touching. Out of impulse, I reach over, engulfing Emiri in a hug. Memories of our conversations back at the shrine surges, and I find myself holding on to her tighter. All this time, she has been suffering alone. Flare? She shifts in my arms. I tense, ready for Emiri to push me away. Her slender arms wind around me instead, and I can feel her hands clutching at my back. Thank you. She is warm, and she is much more human than what they give her credit for. We hold on to each other, completely forgetting we are where we are. I don't want to let go, and I don't feel like she does either. Reluctantly we part. Emiri's cheeks are covered in a lovely rouge, her long eyelashes fanning above her abrupt gaze. Something within me swells. I can't bring my eyes away from her. Emiri. I don't know what possesses me, but I lean in, watching her reaction with half-lidded eyes. Aww. She looks so happy in that moment. A wisp of a sigh brushes my lips. Emiri meets mine halfway. The kiss is as soft as caressing butterfly wings, fleeting and fragile. It is as sweet as the sugar still lingering on her lips, lasting for a mere second. But I can feel it resonating to my very core. We break away, but I can't help but stare at Emiri in awe. Dew shines in her eyes, so innocent and pure. If there is one thing, I am glad to have met you, Flare. Me too, Emiri. Me too. Me too. With my hand still on her elbow, we exchange a smile. For once in my life, I feel like I've just connected to another person's soul. Ah. And I am glad that the person is Emiri. That put more tears than I had in Shizeo's route. Okay, let's get back into formation, Flare. Stop with the emotions. Not much happened after that eventful weekend. The weekend goes by rather slowly, and with no club meetings either. I can't blame Ember, especially with how badly the last one went. For the entire 5 days at school, Ember was grumpy and looked like she was desperately in need of a long nap. I haven't seen much of Emiri after our date. It occurs to me how little I interest with her outside of a club, and most of our encounters before last weekend was initiated by me. She truly is an antisocial one. Having to manage a whole shrine at her age while juggling schoolwork and watching over Shazaya must be time consuming. Besides, I bet she has been busy with the charms around school. Apparently she has to maintain and monitor them frequently. What surprises me is Shazeo. Not once, but 3 times now, she has bolted away from our table during lunch, looking green and ready to vomit all over the place. Shazeo has been rather pale, her hair unkempt and cheeks hollowing. By Thursday, Shazeo was forced to go home by the school nurse. Yikes. Jahar in particular seems bothered by these new developments. As we walk home together on Friday afternoon, she worries her bottom lip to the point of chaffing. I really don't like it. Everyone seems so upset. It'll pass. I think it has something to do with the coming exams too. I guess. Do you think we should visit Shazeo? I don't exactly have an answer for that. I don't know if Emiri and Shazeo have talked at all about their problems since, either way, I don't want to intrude. That issue aside, I don't know what the status between me and Emiri is, even after that date. Nothing official was discussed, and I know public appearance is incredibly important to Emiri. I don't know if I'm ready to dive into that yet. Which is why I am so surprised when I receive a text from Emiri that evening. Come have dinner at the shrine tomorrow. I would like to have a word with you. That would sound like a text that I would get from Shazeo. The wording sounds too human to be Emiri. That doesn't sound good at all. It's too formal. Maybe Emiri's mad at me. But it's Emiri. Her asking me out of a date was like sending me to the principal's office. It's difficult enough speaking to her face to face, so it's not fair to assume what she might feel based on text alone. That isn't to say I'm not nervous when I arrive at the shrine the next day. I mean, how do you even dress to go for a dinner at the shrine of all places? I cleaned up as best as I could. Near shirt and trousers and combed back hair. Needless to say, I don't want to make a bad appearance. Climb up the stairs, I see Shazeo sweeping away fallen leaves in the courtyard. While still pale, she doesn't look like she's going to vomit anytime soon. That's a good sign. Why are you here? It's almost like this is a setup. Not by Emiri, but by Shazeo. Hey Shazeo. Flare. You're early. Scratching the back of my neck, I offer a sheepish smile. Yeah, I don't want to make anyone wait. Of course you don't. Here, follow me. Shazeo leads to the back of a shrine and into a residential area. I was about to say arena then. Sitting in the living room, I consciously and constantly adjust my seating pose. I scoff at myself. There shouldn't be any reason to be so nervous. Shazeo, who has been watching intently, chuckles. Relax. Emiri should be back in a bit. She's completing her rituals. How have you been, Shazeo? Feeling any better? A bit, yeah. Meds and a healthy diet sure helps. That's good to hear. Feeling rather awkward, I take a look at my surroundings. I point at the tasteful arc of strun stone over the doorway. Strun stone? That is something I've never heard of before. You have some nice decorations there. Thanks! Adder stones. Adder stones? Yep. Stones that have naturally occurring holes through them. Huh? That's good to know. Anyhow, where are my manners? Do you want some tea or something? No, it's fine. I don't want to fill up before dinner. You probably should. You might not be able to stomach anything after that. Eh? Before I could ask Shazia what she meant, the sliding door opens and steps Emiri, still in her hakama, and looking rather tired. Is dinner... Upon looking at me, Emiri completely freezes. This is a trap.
Oh?
What is Flare doing here? What do... This is getting good already. Shazio. Flare, get down! Of course. At once, the room spirals out of existence, overtaken by dizzying darkness and seething blue fire. Flinching, I try to keep away from the edges of the flame, nearly colliding into Emiri as I do so. Emiri, what's going on? Emiri seems to not share the same panic that I'm feeling. Whirling around to face Shazio, Emiri narrows her eyes. What did you do? Just a little handy pocket dimension, courtesy of Ember. Not that the dumb blank actually knows what they are. Ember. What is Ember? A loud gasp escapes me as Shazio grin widens. The stones. They were the ones from the box, weren't they? But Emiri said, Emiri this, Emiri that. Shut your trap. She doesn't know stuff either. This is foreign magic. Indeed it is. Thrown you off, haven't I? Took me a while to figure it out, you know. I'm not all that blessed like you, but I have my own little tricks. What do you want, Shazio? What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious? I want to settle scores with you once and for all, sister. Yikes. She really is a venomous one. Shizio spits the last word out as if it is a mouthful of poison. There is so much contempt and hatred in her voice. It makes me flinch. Even Emiri looks rattled, despite her usual cold demeanour. Don't be foolish. If you want to talk, you could have asked. Talk? Years of silence and now you want to talk? This time, Emiri winces. Instinctively, I reach out to touch on her arm. Shizio's eyes follow my movement like a hawk. I knew it. It's because of him, isn't it? You finally want to talk to your sister because of that snivering wimp, isn't it? Emiri's head snaps up. That's not true. Don't lie to me. Yikes, this whole situation is out of whack. Seems like Shazio's anger towards Emiri has boiled over and she is finally acting on it. I wouldn't lie and say I'm not scared to hell and back, but why involve me? Suspicious. We could be a bait. Regardless, I need to try and alleviate the situation, especially when Emiri looks at a loss of what to do. Shazio, please. Emiri has been wanting to talk to you. She just never has, but... Shut up! The biting hiss stops me from speaking any further. Shazio looks unhinged. Her face contorts in rage and hatred. You think you know everything, do you? Emiri is only charmed because she's inexperienced. Me? Not so much. Watch what you're saying, Shazio. Or what? Are you going to lock me up again, dear sister? You tried and it didn't work, did it? But that's what you want to do, isn't it? Locking me up and using me as a battery. So you could spend my time being happy. Shazio? What is Shazio saying? None of the things she's saying makes any sense to me. As if she could read what's in my head, Shazio whirls around sneering. She never told you, did she? Precious, righteous Emiri never did a wrong thing in her life. Do you know that all Onoshi magic has a price, and the price is the user's lifespan? What? That's preposterous! Emiri? To my horror, Emiri avoids my eyes, her brows scrunching together. I knew it. Don't give me that look. You don't get to do that. Not when you took my life away from me. Shizeo, no! It's never my choice to... Shut your hole. It was never meant to be this way. Even if I had no powers, you could have left me alone. But that's not the case, isn't it? An ownership takes what she wants. You didn't want your life eroding away with magic usage, so you use me as a vessel to channel all the consequences into. Because I was born with no powers. I almost stumbled backwards in shock. Emiri did that? I'm thinking actually that it was their mother that did that. And Emiri, unconsciously, somehow either knows or doesn't know that? Probably Emiri does know that, but doesn't know the consequences of what was happening at the time. And all the talismans we set up, that surely took up a lot of magic, didn't it? A twist. I almost stumbled backwards in shock. Emiri did that. To Shizeo. Terrified, I turned to her, desperately seeking affirmation. That can't be right. Shizeo is Emiri's own blood. She wouldn't... Shizeo, you know that's not true. She conducted the experiments, And you said nothing. You could have defended me, like I have defended you. You promised you'd have my back. You promised. All I wanted as a kid was to be next to you. I didn't care if I had no powers. As long as I could be next to my sister, I didn't care. I tried so hard. And what did you do? You tossed me into a dungeon. I don't know what makes me more numb right now. The things Shizeo is yelling about, or the fact that Emiri has made no move to deny any of them. Emiri told me she cared for Shizeo, but didn't know how to express that to her sister. And that's the binding force of this entire scenario. She has always wanted to express how she felt towards her sister, but she didn't know how. And upon opening up her expressions and her feelings towards us, she is finally allowed to have a key to unlock that shackle. But it's now too late. Was that all just a ruse? Shizeo, I couldn't have done a thing. It was Mother's will. I didn't have control back then. You think you can excuse yourself after all those years? Fine. Deny that. Deny all that. How about now then? Why do you watch my every move? Why didn't you just let me go? I only have 2 years left anyway. Or you're planning to bleed me dry. Why don't you just kill me then? Put me out of my misery. Who is in the right here? I look at Emiri, shaken not with anger at the accusations, but grief. The puzzle I thought I have solved acquired new pieces. No. I don't think Emiri is inherently evil. She is broken. But she is not evil. I don't think everything Emiri told me was all lies. She does feel for Shizeo, she truly does. But I didn't have the whole picture then. It isn't just feelings that are restrained, but also duties and a deep-rooted command that still affects Emiri to this day. You can't let this go on, Emiri. What are you? Shut up. This does not concern you. Ignoring Shizeo's spitting rage, I continue, focusing solely on Emiri. Obviously staying quiet and following protocols aren't working anymore. It doesn't have to be this way forever, Emiri. Whatever you need to say, Say it now. Shut up! Faster than my eyes can see, a throwing knife appears in Shazeo's hands and oh gosh. Like, why does she always carry knives around with her? Throwing knives, to be exact. And slashes the side of my arm before I can even blink. Ah! Flare! Stumbling, I can only stare as blood stains the white of my shirt. What? How has it come to this? Shazeo. Shazeo really is mad now. Shazeo, please! Please. Please what? How does it feel? How does it feel being under your sister's mercy? How does it feel? Stop it! I know what you did! Something breaks in Emiri's voice. Trembles rack through her body, and she grasps on her own elbow with a white-knuckled grip. There is so much pain in Emiri's eyes, as she struggles with an internal battle. I know what you did, Shazeo. I know what you did with Ember. What are you talking about? Emiri shakes her head, as if she is shaking away the voices telling her no, and presses on. I know. I know you killed all those people, Shazeo. What? Oh God. Is this... The snarl is back on Shazeo's face, wilder and with murderous intent. How dare you? No. No more lies, Shazeo. I know. I have known for a while. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to accept the signs pointing to it. I'm not blind, Shazeo. I watched you. I have people watching you. For a reason. We could never catch you in the act, but the timing's matched. I know that you've been imposing me to abuse the ownership's authority over town. I know you have been charming your way into unsuspecting victims' lives. I know you have been using Ember as well. I know you tested your powers on sick and helpless people before these crimes. One of which was the MC's grandfather. I didn't even need to check. I didn't need to check to know that you have broken the seal over your curse. Seeing as Shazeo's expression is rapidly turning darker, Emiri hastily continues, a touch of desperation in her voice. But it's okay. It can be okay. Just let me fix it, Shazeo. It can all be fixed. Just stop, okay? I stare at her shocked. What is she saying? Emiri? Fixed? What is there to be fixed? People are dead. You can't fix that. Nobody can. You mean fixing their severed friendship/relationship? Of course, Shazeo would just do that. This is the second route now, where at the end of it all, Shazeo has a huge amount of malice. A lot of the bubbles out of Shazeo. Bitter, hateful, malicious. Fixed? Don't make me laugh. Ultimately, you just prove to be a hypocrite as you've always have been. Shazeo, No, you don't get to fix it. You don't slap a band-aid over the steaming pile of whatever it is and say you can fix it. Tell me, Emiri. What did you do when your mother died? You disposed of the other experiments. But me? You let me out. Even though it was only a fragment. What did you do, Emiri? What did you do? I put a seal on you. But it's only for... Stop with that blank. Fine, you told me I lie. But who here has been lying to herself this entire time? Just as I thought. Even now, you can't admit it. You don't have the resolve to finish the job. But that's okay, isn't it, Emiri? It's okay to watch this whole town burn as long as you can retain your image. That's not true. You swept everything under the rug because exposing me would leave a stain in the family's history. You knew, yet you continue watching as people die. You never interfered even though you knew I took the rest of the curse. You don't want to admit you've butchered your duties, the sole purpose to your existence. No, I did it because I care for you. Heaving after her outburst, Emiri's body shakes with the torrent of broken emotions. No, Shizeo, I did it because I couldn't bear to admit it. You're right, this is my fault. I don't have the convictions. I couldn't choose between my duty and my sister. You can't, or you won't. You see, there's a big difference there. You can't say that there is a choice there, or you won't. Wait, no, can't is be you don't have a choice, and you won't meaning that you could have a choice. Cannot, would not. My bad, folks. Shizeo, I can't. I don't want to admit it, because admitting it would equal to condemning you. And I can't... Can't what? Kill me? You can't seriously think that after all the tortures his family has subjected me through, death is a less merciful sentence? But they're gone now, and... Shizeo has Emiri cornered. I can see on Emiri's face. She has neither been able to express herself well to begin with, being directly under an onslaught with all her weaknesses exposed. Emiri has nowhere to turn. Shizeo knows this. Both of them know this. Clutching my sluggishly bleeding arm, I don't know what to think anymore. Shizeo is the murderer, but Emiri, one way or another, has watched on as victim after victim fell to needless violence when she could have stopped this. But why? Why bring me into this? I have no importance to their feud. Wouldn't having a witness being damning for Shizeo? That's the thing, MC. You as the witness is the bait for Shizeo's destruction. If I stay alive, that is. Kill me, Emiri. Do one good for me in this life. Eradicate me. What? No, Shizeo, You don't want to tarnish your name. I know. It's the whole purpose of this little trick. No one will know. You can tell them whatever excuse you have. I'm sure they will swallow it all up. No, Shizeo, this is not the way. Then what is? You're selfish, and you're a liar, Emiri. You're no better than me. What is the loss of one puppet? Do you want me to cling onto life that badly? You're still my sister, and I love you. No matter how you may twist my words, it's the truth. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to tell you. I don't want you to die. I don't want to kill you. Please. We still have time. I don't care what you did. You left me to suffer. You dare ask that of me? Fine. If you won't decide, then I will. MC, you better run away as quickly as possible, because Shizeo is very quick. Suddenly, the reason why I am here is clear. Maddened eyes turn to me. I never could have reacted at the time. I never had a chance. Yikes! Shizeo pounces with a high-pitched roar. Carved blade in her hand, she aims for my throat. Something catches my throat, folks, slowly. Shizeo, no! And that happened. Yikes. A flash of light blinds me. disorientated I felt it before, but aside from the dull throb on my arm, I feel no pain. Emiri didn't want to do that, but somehow she chose me over her own sister. My heart stops. Shazaya lays crumbled. An arrow made of light skews through her chest. She grasps for air as blood spills out of her. The darkness around us dissipates, no longer having enough power to sustain itself. Shocked, I can only look on as Emiri rushes to Shazaya's side. The arrow disappears, rolling Shazaya into Emiri's waiting arms. Crimson stains her snow-white sleeves, but Emiri doesn't seem to care. Her sobs come out, dry and choked, eyes glazed over. Shazaya looks up at her sister and smiles. Why did you do that? Why? Because you wouldn't do it unless I force your hands. Shazaya, I don't want this. I'm so sorry. I should have. Shh, it's over. We're both no longer caged. See? No, it's not fair. The price, it's not worth it. With the last of her strength, Shazaya reaches up, brushing a tear away, smearing Emiri's cheek with red. It's okay, Emmy. It's okay. I love... No. Oh dear, Shazaya. As mad as you are, we still love you. Shazaya draws her last breath. The last of her words is lost on the bow of her lips, smiling as her eyes become lifeless. Yikes. A few years later. Whoa, this is a good end! I sweep away the last of the fallen leaves, sighing no matter how much I try. Every morning the yard would be littered with them again. Welcome to autumn. I guess autumn really is here. At least we can maybe bake some sweet potatoes with this. Everyone really liked it last time. Flare, are you done out there? Coming! Emiri looks like she's just had a bath. Her skin is still warm to the touch. Ah, now go clean up, we're almost here. Impeccable time as usual. Not. As I change my clothes, I can hear the commotions all the way at the back of the house. I emerge to see Ember and Chiharu. They're doing well, lovely. Already seating around the table. Chatting animatedly with Emiri. You won't believe the amount of work she puts me through. Chiharu might be all nice, but she's a slave driver, I'm telling you. Chiharu smacks Ember on the arm, blushing, to which Ember only flashes her big grin. Emily calmly takes a sip of tea. It's natural, she owns a business now. There is a lot of work to do. Oh, cut me some slack, would you? Well, at least Emily and Ember are on good terms. I'm sorry to dash all your hopes, but Emily never cuts anyone any slack. Emily rolls her eyes. Ember bursts out laughing. It's good to maintain some barbs in the relationship, eh? Thanking Chiharu for passing me the tea, I take a seat beside Emily. I don't know. Speaking from experience. Ember? Flare! Oh, it's the first time Chiharu spoke. Ember sticks her tongue out at me. As she would, sheesh. Emily, every year, he becomes a bit more like you. You're sure you aren't rubbing off each other the wrong way? I wish. Just like that, we fall into familiar banter. One thing we can agree on, we would spare Chiharu on the details. Chiharu was never meant to be tangled in any of this. We wouldn't let the past harm yet another person. For the sake of everyone involved, Emily swept everything under the rug. What was there to keep going forward with? Ember admitted that while Shizeo did manipulate her into committing all those crimes, she also had to do it to survive, as she was also infected with the curse. Emiri had Ember confined under the Onishi Shrine for the remainder of the senior year to extract the curse from her. According to Ember, the pain was hellish, but nothing she didn't deserve. Ember's penalty was that her lifespan would be cut short just like an Onishi, perhaps even shorter for those she had harmed. It was enough of a punishment. Ember was just glad she didn't have to hurt anyone else anymore. And to be honest, I was too worried about Emiri having to expend so much energy to care about that point. Ember and Chiharu left town shortly after graduation, going to the same college. Ember didn't want to stay here any longer than she had to, not after all that happened. And Chiharu, while determined to go out and fulfill her dreams of becoming a pastry chef, was uncomfortable with the notion of being alone, so it worked out for them. It went without saying that Emiri had to stay with the shrine. The most difficult decision was left to me. I started dating Emiri after the incident, and for the longest time Emiri was convinced I did it out of pity. There was no telling her otherwise, with Emiri so immersed in her mourning. But my affection for her was real. It has always been. And I knew she needed someone to help her pick up the pieces. So I stayed. It is obvious that Emiri has changed for the better.
Oh?
Are these new products from your pastry? Pastries, whatever you want to call it. I plan to use these for the holiday season. The spices go really well with warm tea and cocoa, no? They are nice. The sweetness is not overwhelming, and the spices give a subtle kick that heightens the tea's flavours. Oh no, here it comes. Right, try this one. I'm thinking to add stouts into the recipes, but I didn't know if that would be popular with the younger clientele. There is no stout version, and this is the stout version. Give it a try. I like it better with the stout. The malt flavour shines through and complements the chocolate well. The cake is spongy yet moist. How did you accomplish that? The secret ingredient is mayonnaise. I thought that was a condiment. It is, but it helps the cake stay so fluffy and smooth. It's the acid and the beaten eggs, I heard. I learned that trick from my chef instructor. You can't even taste it. I know, isn't it the best? Ember groans. Let's get out of here before they melt my brain with all this cake talk. Aren't you used to this since you're the manager? Ember leaves me with a glare. Smirking, I raise my hands up in surrender and follow her out. Neither Emiri nor Chiharu seems to notice us leaving, to invest in their chatters. It is nice to see they're in conversation as well. We take to the yard, sitting on either side of my pile of leaves. Ember digs her hands in there, wiggling around as silence fills the gap between us. So, how have you been? The same. Things seem to go well at the shop, yeah? Yep, after graduating this year, I'll be managing full time for Chiharu. Look at you. Who would have thought you'd turn out to be a clean-cut proper manager? Same goes to you. Of all people, who would have thought you'd end up with Emiri? Yep, that's me. Silence falls between us again. Picking up a leaf, I spin it between my fingers, thoughts wandering. Flare, what's wrong? Dropping the leaf, I watch as it flutters to the ground, withered upon dark soil. I don't know. I don't know if it's right to tell Ember. Then again, I don't think there's anyone else I could talk to about this. My life has become simple, day in, day out at the shrine, standing stalwart beside Emiri. And yet there are those invisible threads that bind me, making the simplicity an illusion with no escape. Ember watches me intently. The sight weirdly reminds me of Shizeo. I still care for her. I always have, and yet, day after day, why does it feel like a trap? Try as I might, I could never forget that our days are numbered and the image we call happiness is built upon a foundation that is neither good or certain. As the time goes by, it's becoming harder and harder to tell them apart. Curses come home to roost. Autumn really is here. Hey. Ah. That's definitely a good end because the credits are rolling. We're not given neither a white or a red end over down at the bottom right. Credits. You know what? For all that I said about Shazea's route, somehow, with a combination of the emotions that both Shazea and Emiri have gone through, along with that moment of peace with Emiri inside at the cafe, I don't know why it was suddenly so overwhelming for me there. When that CG came up of Emiri's happiness, it felt like that was something that she was yearning for so long, but she could never do because there was anything outside of the cyclical nature of her responsibilities. And it just so happens that a person that was related to one of Emiri's ancestors somehow forced us together. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. All the people, but hey, there's me there. Fourth section. Ah. Thank you. Thank you for putting me in the credits there. Because I did back up this game. And I was incredibly honoured as well to be put within their special chat room in Discord. It was an invitation, but I'm just so thankful to the developers for allowing me the opportunity to see other things that are going on. Because I deeply care for communities. I'm a deeply ingrained person that believes that communities are one of the most important things that there are within any kind of social or physical establishment. Like the communities that care for one another, the communities that touch one another's emotions, and this game really got to me. And in a way, I feel like once upon a time, I kind of was like Emiri socially. Just don't know how to express myself or don't know how to respond to different circumstances. And I could always say to myself that I can blame my own learning difficulties for that, but that's a part of me. But it doesn't define me as a person. And neither should Emiri's responses define her as a person. So the circumstances are different. The psychological implications, you could say, are similar. Because Emiri was trained since she was a childhood to be this omnipotent being, this responsible, entirely devoted individual to the clan, that being human was just obsolete. But I'm so glad that what the developers have written into this game has really fleshed her out as a character. Thank you all so much for watching, guys, and as painful as it sounds, we're going to try and get to a bad ending in the next time around on Missing Time. And then probably from there, we'll start with Ember's roots. And then from there, see if there's anything new in Chihara's route. But I wouldn't think that there would be, considering that I've already skimmed through that section of the game. But there could be more constraints towards a good outcome in Chihara's route, simply because each choice is no longer tied to the one ending build of a game because there are more branching paths now. But thank you all so much for watching, guys. I do apologise for my tears at the cafe section of the game, but that really did touch me in a way that not a lot of games can do. And see you all in the next time of Missing Time. Thank you all so much for watching and take care of yourselves.